What's the best way to invest $100,000 right now? Imagine you have $100,000 sitting in the bank, barely earning anything in interest. What if you could take that money and turn it into a serious wealth-building machine without spending hours analyzing stock charts? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we talk about money, investing, and wealth-building strategies. Today we're tackling how should you invest $100,000 with Fidelity. If you've been sitting on a lump sum, whether it's savings, an inheritance, or just smart financial planning, you do not want to let that money sit in a low-interest account. Instead, I'll walk you through the best Fidelity Index funds that can turn that $100K into millions over time. In this video, I'll show you the top Fidelity funds for long-term wealth, how much your money could grow in 10, 20, and 30 years. The best strategy to diversify and maximize your returns. Stick around until the end because I'll reveal the top #1 Fidelity fund that has historically built the most millionaires. Let's get started. Number 5. Fidelity MSCI Consumer Staples. Index ETF, FSTA. Why it's a great investment. This fund invests in consumer staples, essential goods that people buy regardless of economic conditions. Think of companies like Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Costco, and Coca-Cola. Even during recessions, these businesses continue generating revenue. Key performance stats: dividend yield, 2.39%, steady passive income, 10-year dividend growth rate, 10.7%, historical average annual return, 6.41%, potential growth of $100,000 investment after 10 years, $243,700 after 20 years, $681,000 after 30 years, $234 million monthly dividends in 30 years, 378888. Best for conservative investors looking for stability, steady dividends, and market protection. Consumer staples stocks are known for their resilience during economic downturns. During the 2008 crash, this sector dropped only 15%, while the S&P 500 fell 38%. Downside: since consumer staples companies grow slowly, this fund may underperform during bull markets compared to higher growth sectors. Number 4, Fidelity MSCI Consumer Discretionary Index ETF, FDIS. Why it's a great investment? Unlike consumer staples, consumer discretionary stocks thrive when people have extra money to spend. This means investments in companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Home Depot, businesses that explode when the economy is booming. Key performance stats: dividend yield, 0.76%, lower but high growth potential, 10-year dividend growth rate, 11.22%, historical average annual return, 13.3%, potential growth of $100,000 investment after 10 years, $315,900 after 20 years, $995,000 after 30 years, $3.13 million monthly dividends in 30 years, $1,665. Best for investors seeking high growth in booming economies with tolerance for short-term volatility. Consumer discretionary stocks historically outperform the market during economic expansions. For example, from 2010-2020, this sector delivered 16% annual returns compared to the 13.3% return of the S&P 500. Downside: this fund is highly cyclical. During recessions, discretionary spending drops, and the fund's value can decline sharply. Before we go ahead to the top 3 funds, I want to share something that could completely change how you invest. I've put together a free guide called Fidelity Index Fund Secrets the Experts Won't Tell You. This resource breaks down hidden strategies that top investors use to maximize their returns. And trust me, these are insights most people never hear about. Download your free copy now using the link in the description below. It's packed with actionable tips to help you grow your wealth faster and smarter. Now, let's proceed. Number 3, Fidelity MSCI Healthcare Index ETF, FHLC. Why it's a great investment. The healthcare sector is one of the most stable and profitable long-term investments. People always need healthcare, whether the economy is strong or weak. This fund includes giants like Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and United Health Group. Key performance stats: dividend yield, 1.26%, 10-year dividend growth rate, 16.8%. Historical average annual return, 9.24%. Potential growth of $100,000 investment. After 10 years, $283,300 after 20 years, $931,000 after 30 years, $396 million monthly dividends in 30 years, $2,295, best for long term. Investors looking for a balance between stability and growth. The healthcare sector is recession resistant. No matter the economy, people always need medical care, prescription drugs, and treatments. Downside: the healthcare sector faces political and regulatory risks. Government policies on drug pricing or healthcare reform can impact company profits. Number 2, Fidelity NASDAQ Composite Index ETF 1Q. Why it's a great investment. This fund tracks the entire NASDAQ Composite Index, meaning you're investing in the most innovative, high-growth tech companies. Think Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, and Google. Key performance stats. Top holdings: Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft dividend. Yield, 0.64%, 10-year dividend growth rate, 7.35%, historical average annual return, or 14.44%, potential growth of $100,000 investment after 10 years, 401(k) after 20 years, $157 million after 30 years, $613 million monthly dividends in 30 years, $4,063. Best for investors betting on innovation and market disruption. The NASDAQ Composite outperformed the S&P 500 for the last 30 years, averaging 14% plus annual returns driven by tech innovation. High volatility. Tech stocks experience large price swings, and during market downturns, e.g., 2000.com crash, NASDAQ dropped over 75%. Finally, number 1 is Fidelity MSCI Information Technology Index ETF, FTX. Why it's the best investment. This fund is laser-focused on technology, making it a pure play on the most valuable sector in the world. If you believe in the future of AI, cloud computing, and software, this is the fund to own. Key performance stats: top holdings: Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia dividend yield 0.66%, 10-year dividend growth rate 19.08%, historical average annual return 18.67%. Potential growth of $100,000 investment. After 10 years, $586,500. After 20 years, $2.17 million after 30 years, $757 million monthly dividends in 30 years, $12,612. Best for investors looking for maximum long-term growth. This fund is almost entirely invested in tech stocks, which have been the best performing sector for the past decade, driven by AI, cloud computing, and semiconductors. Downside: sector concentration risk. A downturn in tech, like 2022's sell-off, can significantly impact the fund's performance. On top of that, here is a bonus fund, Fidelity Blue Chip Growth Fund, FBGRX. This is not an index fund, but it's an actively managed fund that focuses on companies with the biggest growth potential. Why it's a game changer. Managed by expert investors looking for the next big winners. Has outperformed the S&P 500 for years. Perfect for those who want a little extra risk for higher returns. How much can $100K grow? 10 years, $560,000, 20 years, $2.3 million, 30 years. 10 plus million FBGRX has outperformed the S&P 500 over 10, 20, and 30 years, making it one of Fidelity's best performing active funds. Downside: higher fees, 0.79% expense ratio versus index funds under 0.1%, and since it's actively managed, performance depends on fund managers' decisions. Note: the hidden power of dividend reinvestment. If you want to maximize your wealth-building potential, consider reinvesting your dividends instead of cashing them out. This simple strategy allows your investments to compound faster and grow exponentially over time. Example of reinvesting versus cashing out. Let's take FTech, Fidelity MSCI Information Technology Index ETF, as an example. If you withdraw your dividends, your 30-year portfolio value could be around $7.57 million. But if you reinvest dividends, your portfolio could potentially reach over $10 million. Why this works? Every dividend payout buys more shares, meaning you earn even bigger dividends over time. It's like a snowball effect that accelerates your wealth building. So, if you're serious about long-term growth, consider setting up automatic dividend reinvestment in your brokerage account. The 100K investment strategy. So how should you divide your $100,000 across these funds? How to divide your $100,000 investment. We have three approaches as follows. Number one, conservative approach, lower risk, 50%, FSTA, consumer staples, 30%, FHLC, healthcare, 20%, FXAIX, S&P 500. Number two, growth-focused approach, higher returns, 40%, 1Q, NASDAQ Composite, 30%, FTech Tech, 20%, FBGRX, Blue Chip Growth, 10%, FDIS, Consumer Discretionary. Number three, high risk, high reward strategy, 50%, FTech Tech, 30%, FBGRX, Blue Chip Growth, 20%, 1K, NASDAQ Composite. Which strategy fits you best? Drop a comment below and let me know. If this video helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next videos. Remember to download my free guide, Fidelity Index Fund Secrets, The Experts Won't Tell You. Link in the description. See you in the next video.